So this video is almost definitely going to get copyright striked. So this video is brought to you by our own merch store. We created some t-shirts and some posters, not specifically related to us, but music related. And in theory, you're all into music. So if you're interested in this design or this t-shirt or this for your phone, feel free to check it out. There's a link in the description, but there's also like that bar, provided you don't have ad blocker on. If you do, there's a link in the description. Yeah, enjoy the video. Every single song has an energy level, and throughout a song, the energy will change. Now, depending on the genre, sort of depends on what dictates what the energy is. So for certain genres, high energy will mean something completely different to other genres. And low energy will mean something completely different depending on the genre that you're working in. So something like country and folk, they will have faster, more intricate parts and naturally will add more instruments. A lot of sort of the go-to for most genres is, oh, we want more energy, let's add more instruments at the parts where we want more energy. But when country and folk adds extra instruments, they tend to have more fast parts because that's sort of the nature of it. Slower parts for less energy. Makes sense. Rock and all of the genres that have come from rock, so punk, metal, etc, 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 will just sort of add distortion. But generally with rock, if they want more energy, they will just be louder. Now, there is a lot of crossover here. For example, pop will add a lot more layers to the vocals. Like, so on a recording, there will physically be more vocal tracks that you're listening to at the high energy areas. Other genres have borrowed that, but generally that's sort of a pop thing. Now, to give you an example of a song where this happens, Danny Nedelko by Idols. So this is sort of the energy graph. But you will notice that every single time a section is repeated, it has the exact same energy. So going from the first verse to the second verse, it's identical. Going from the first chorus to the second chorus to the third chorus, they're all identical. And that's what I want to talk about today, is sort of changing that. And when you're writing songs, I want you to be aware that yes, you need to be changing the energy of your song to make it interesting. Every single song tends to change energy throughout. The songs that don't are either doing it on purpose or are just not as interesting as songs that do. Most songs change their energy, but a lot of songs, like Danny Nedelko, don't change energies within their own sections or between the same sections. So, as I said, all of the verses will be the same. All of the choruses will be the same. If there's a riff, every time it's played exactly the same. And that's sort of missing an opportunity. There's a fair amount of artists that don't do that. And it's really good. It's really interesting just to be able to listen to the same section played different ways. So I'm going to show you some songs that do that and sort of explain how you can add energy into your songs. So before I tell you what you can change, there's a few things that you probably can't change. One being the melody. If there's a lead melody, like for a riff or for a vocal, for example, in a chorus, the vocal having the main melody, you can't really change that. You can't just go, oh, well, we'll just go with a completely different melody for the second chorus. Because at that point, it's not really a chorus. It's a new section. You just have two different sections. So here we specifically talking about keeping the same section. It should have the same name. If the first one was a verse, the second one is the second verse, but they're different. So you can't change the melody. You also can't really change the chords. Some genres you can get away with this, like jazz fusion, you could easily just change the chords and it wouldn't matter. But for the most part, if your chorus is C, G, A minor, F, every single chorus has to be C, G, A minor, F. It just sort of has to be, because otherwise it's a different part. If you change that but kept the same melody, it might sound weird and different. It'll be a different section. So what can you change? Now, the easiest thing is to just change what's playing. So pick a section in a song and say, right, so for the first verse, we have the drums playing, we have the bass playing, and we have the vocals. So for the second, let's take the drums out, let's take the bass out, and let's just have the guitar playing. The guitar didn't play in the first verse, but now for the second verse, only the guitar's gonna play. That's pretty interesting. An example of this, and it's a really basic example, but American Idiot by Green Day. So for the first verse, it's just vocal, and then everything comes in. And then just vocal, and then everything comes in. For the second verse, it's just vocal and drums, and then everything comes in. And then just vocal and drums, and everything comes in. Don't wanna be an American idiot. Don't want a nation under the new media. And sing along to the age of paranoia. Now to take things a little bit further, let's have a section where, say, the guitars are always playing. Every time this section happens, the guitar is always playing, except it plays different parts. So for like the first chorus, it does the chords, and for the second chorus, it does like finger-picked chords, and then for the third chorus, it does like stabs. That'd work. So an example of this, and it's an example of the previous point, is About Her by Gender Roles. So they play the chorus multiple different times in different ways. So the chorus is always split into two, and the first part is always lower in energy, and the second part is always higher in energy, but they do change what that means.
Crush it up and put it in my drink. Let's go somewhere quiet and I'll tell you what I think about her. About her. Crush it up and put it in my drink. Let's go somewhere quiet and I'll tell you what I think about her. About her. Crush it up and put it in my drink. Let's go somewhere quiet and I'll tell you what I think.
So with that as an example, you can really sort of run wild. That's sort of the main way that you can do this and really get your sections sounding completely different, because there is so much opportunity to have a similar sounding thing, but presented in many different ways. And that's sort of the really interesting thing that I'm trying to get across. Now, there is a more subtle way that you can do this, and it drastically changes the energy, but it doesn't drastically change the timbre. So in that Gender Roles example, we were going from having sort of just guitar to the full band. And that's a really big difference, that you notice that, oh, the bass is now coming, oh, the drums have now come in, oh, the guitar is now much more distorted and loud. And sometimes it doesn't call for that. Sometimes it calls for something a little bit more subtle. Now, I have a song for you that does this in a really nice way. If you listen to the song multiple times, you probably wouldn't even realize that the energy was changing in the way that it is. But it is, and it keeps it interesting, even if you don't notice that it's keeping interesting. Now, the song is Pristine by Snail Mail, and the first half of the song is sort of shoegazy, the drums are a little bit sort of washed out in halftime. And for the entire second half of the song, so the second verse and the second chorus, the drummer is playing completely different parts. I think it's identical parts. I think the verse and the chorus are the same part. And for the first verse and the first chorus, the drums are playing the same part. But they're completely different. They're actually double time, and they're much more sort of energetic. Not super energetic, because the song doesn't call for it, but there is a noticeable difference between the drum parts of the first verse and chorus and the second verse and chorus. And it's super interesting. Have a listen. So I challenge you to actively listen to this when you're listening to the bands that you like, because there's so much opportunity for this. And I think the only artists that don't really sort of compose like this are artists that are just starting out, because you aren't thinking about it. So this video is sort of here to be like, think about it, please think about it. But just listen out for it, because there's so many intricate, weird ways that you can mess about with this, and it really adds energy to your song. Because my point here is how to add energy, and I'm not specifically telling you to do something. Now, I did name this video How to Add Energy to Your Songs, and I didn't specifically tell you to do something. Like, I didn't say like, oh, always have guitar parts like this, or always do this, because the point isn't to add energy. The point is to have your range of what energy means to your band. Like, what does a high energy section sound like to your band? What does a low energy section sound like to your band? And then how do you evolve between those energy levels? Because that is where you start to get the high energy bits feeling like high energy bits. If you're high energy all the time, it doesn't feel like high energy, because it's just what you sound like. Whereas if you have a low section and it's sort of slow and peaceful, and then you go really high energy and super fast with really like loud drums and like a fast riff or whatever, you will feel it. You will feel the energy of that. You know Bohemian Rhapsody, when like the Wayne's World headbang bit, that works so well because it's just spent 3.5 minutes building to it. You've had like a piano ballad, you've had some operatic sections, you've had like a slow guitar solo, and then you get this rock riff, and it's awesome, and you get this hit of energy. Now, if you just had a song that just started with that riff, it'd be like, oh, it's an alright rock song. Like, it's not even that heavy of a thing. It's not like a proper headbanging riff. It's pretty good, it's alright. but the placement of it within that song, it becomes the high energy part of the song, and it excels because they've just spent 3.5 minutes not doing that. That's sort of what I'm getting at. You don't have to go to that extreme, but to have low energy points, to emphasize your high energy points, way better. And doing that between sections is even better. To have a chorus where the first chorus is like, it's not where the song's going to end up being. The first chorus is sort of a hint. We're going to show you the melody, but we're not going to go all out. Then you go into the second verse, and maybe it's a little bit different from the first verse because, you know, like you want to keep it interesting, like you've got an extra riff in there or something like that. And then second chorus, you hit hard, and you hit really hard, and like it's just full of energy, because that is the sort of song that gives people goosebumps. It's the sort of song that has that oomph to it. And it's not because it's super high energy, it's because it's contrasting its high energy with low energy. I'm probably rambling, you probably get the point. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any examples of songs that really take this to the extreme, please link them in the comment section. Don't forget, you can check out our store. There's a link in the description if you're interested in posters or phone cases or t-shirts. We're here. Yeah, thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked it, feel free to hit like. 90% of people that watch this channel aren't subscribed, so a subscribe would be really nice. That'd be great. Yeah, thank you very much for watching this video, and I will see you at some point in the future. Have a good time until then.